Hello, everybody. It is Al Night. It is Brony time, and welcome back to some more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. I hope you all are enjoying the month of Ace Attorney. This January, I will be posting exclusively Great Ace Attorney content. And of course, when the Apollo Justice series comes out at the end of the month, we will be putting wherever we are in going through this and the original trilogy on hold as we play through that game right here on the channel. But in terms of where we last left off in the trial, we have arrived in London and we have been given a test to see if we have the resolve to be a lawyer. And now we're here at the Old Bailey defending some pompous, rich Irish dude who definitely does not look evil. But anyway, let's get right back into the game. We just started with the cross-examination of the witnesses. It was the last bus of the evening, so I had a few customers. I remember it well. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Then, out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife into his guts. That's right, he stabbed him. I screamed or did. I couldn't help it. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus and then I saw it too. An ambiguous testimony, I must say. Exactly, my lord. These men witnessed the incident in the omnibus with their own eyes. I'd like to ask a question, if I may. Sorry, wrong voice. I'd like to have a question, if I may. Yes, counsel. Well, this testimony makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. Why not? Well, the incident took place inside a moving carriage, didn't it? As has been clearly stated from the outset, yes. Well, in that case, how could those two witnesses possibly have seen what happened? There's no way they could have seen the inside of the moving carriage. How quaint. I've read that civilization in the Eastern Island nations was a good century behind our own. Yay! We trade one racist for another racist. Racism for everybody. But you're here in London yourself. Are you really so ignorant about our omnibuses? I just got here. Literally, I got here, I went to the Supreme Court, and then he sent me here. Huh? Tell me, my Nipponese friend, have you ever traveled in an omnibus? Well, no. We only arrived in London this morning. No matter. I've arranged for us all to see for ourselves the actual scene of the crime, that is. What do you mean? The actual scene? How? A carriage is designed to be moved, after all. Presumably you understand that much. Yes. The omnibus in which this bloody crime took place is here today in this very building. Sorry, I'm trying to get this guy's voice down. Here? What? The entire carriage! Bailiff! Bring forth the stricken omnibus! So that's an omnibus. The omnibus. Can't believe they could bring something so enormous in here. Great Britain's courtrooms are amazing. As you can see, the omnibus is pulled by 2 horses and can carry up to 8 passengers. Four passengers seated inside in the enclosed cabin, and another 4 on the rooftop deck above. Every Londoner knows that the best views of the city's architecture and sights are to be had from the top of an omnibus. Yep, and they have a modern rendition of the omnibus. It's called the double-decker. And I should point out to our foreign guests that there is a skylight in the roof, allowing a view of the interior from the seats above. Ah, a skylight. Oh! The penny drops at last, I see. These 2 gentlemen were occupying the rooftop seats on this omnibus when the murder took place. This is how they came to witness the grim incident. Okay, but how did the driver see it? Is there a driver's window? Through the skylight. That makes perfect sense.
Well, Counsel, this is a first. In all my years behind the bench, I've never experienced the crime scene itself being brought into the courtroom.
There are a number of important clues remaining inside the carriage, my lord. I would like to submit the omnibus itself as evidence. That is the prosecution's wish.
Very well. I see no reason why not. This omnibus is hereby formally accepted as evidence.
I'm trying not to slip into Hosonaga with the judge. I can't believe it. The entire crime scene entered as evidence. Yes, Great Britain is simply extraordinary. I could help myself a lot by giving that omnibus a thorough examination, seeing as it's here.
Let us continue with proceedings then. Your cross-examination, Counsel.
Pray don't expect this Nipponese stray to understand the intricacies of a British court's cross-examining examination rights. Dang, oh my god, man. Alright, my first cross-examination in a British court. Focus, Ryunosuke. Focus! What the witnesses saw.
Hold it!
You actually saw the exact moment it happened. Didn't I already testify to that? Or are fair dinkum, hard-working city bankers not considered trustworthy these days? Oh, no, I didn't mean that. This is no good. I've really got his back up. Perhaps you could just tell us what you saw in a little more detail if that's... My lord!
Juror number 3, what's the meaning of this?
My mind is made up, my lord. Completely and utterly made up. Made up about what? I don't like the stinking rich. Never have. They're always up to something or other that they shouldn't be. Every one of them. Huh. I just heard this exact sentiment at work today. And that little leprechaun of a man is no exception. Well, he can't fool me. Also, that guy, I'm trying to feel out his voice. Hopefully I get it by the end of the case. I can't promise I will. There's no point wasting time listening to any more of this. That's my opinion on the matter anyway.
This is precisely what I was about to say. As a foreman of the jury, it's my duty to set a good example to my fellow jurors. It is my job to be the leader of this bandwagon, the leader of the mob, so to speak.
What is happening here? Let me see. Ah, yes. It seems that's how the members of the jury give their verdicts. With fire? Apparently, yes. White for innocent and black for guilty. As the 6 members of the jury make up their minds about the case, one by one they each cast a ball of fire into the great scales of justice, as we saw a moment ago. So if those enormous scales fall completely to the black side, does that mean... Let's do our very best to make sure that doesn't happen. Ugh, I'm even more worried than I was before.
Very well, the court acknowledges the change in the jury's stance. Counsel for the defense, please continue with your cross-examination.
Ah, this is a nightmare.
Hold it!
He stabbed him, you say? And you were sitting up on the roof deck, were you?
Yes, that's right, sir. I was up on the roof seats.
I remember seeing the little gent sitting next to the fellow that was stabbed. I've been thinking about a new hat design, you see, so I was just gazing absent-mindedly around. But then I happened to look down through the skylight. It was sticking right out from his belly, that huge, great knife.
A grim sight indeed.
Ah, that didn't help me at all. Sure look like they're even more convinced my client did it than they were before. That appears to have made everyone even more dubious that Mr. McGilded is telling the truth. If only we had some evidence to counter their suspicions. Mr. First! Oh, yes, sir. Is the knife you saw? Is this the knife you saw? Oh, good grief! Yes, that's it. The very one, sir. Is that? Yes, counsel. This is the blade that was driven into the victim's belly like a stake through the heart.
That is a blade of considerable size, counsel.
It is, and furthermore, the scabbard is embalmed, I don't know that word, prominently with a embalmed is... Huh? Okay, I'm not wasting time getting hung up on this word. Something prominently with a certain initial. The letter M, which seems oddly familiar. Please no. M for Magnus, perhaps? Or McGilded, possibly. Take your pick. It seems this particular big name in London made a magnificent mistake.
Objection.
Ha, did you see what I did there? But there are M's everywhere, yes, like in Mason.
Objection.
The blade is far too extravagant for a poor brickmaker to have owned. No, this weapon of murder almost certainly belongs to the accused. Ah!
Not conclusive, but certainly compelling, counsel.
My lord, if you'll forgive the interruption.
Juror number 2. Go on.
Mr. McGilded is a pillar of society and a gentleman, and a gentleman's word should be so soft. However, those of us in service know we must accept hard truths. Wait, what are you about to do? Dispose of the rubbish. No! I don't wish to cause offense, but I do like to eradicate all traces of filth and grime.
I have painstakingly typed every word uttered here today and cross-referenced all the facts. As such, I am now in a position to draw the only logical conclusion.
Not again. That's 4 out of 6 jury members who proposed a guilty verdict. There are only 2 left. We've had it. Every time I press these witnesses for more information, I just make the situation worse. Nevertheless, what we need more than anything at the moment is more information. We're so very much in the dark. I suppose I'll just have to keep pressing the witnesses, knowing that more sparks may well fly. We mustn't give up hope that we'll uncover something that will give us a way to fight back. But... alright, I'll keep trying. Can't give up. Just need to keep calm and listen to the witnesses' statements again.
Hold it!
What exactly did you see? Oh, sir, that would be the passenger, sir. Yes, collapsed on the floor he was. And by the passenger, obviously, you're referring to the victim, Mr. Mason, the brickmaker. And the passenger, oh, excuse me, had the knife in his hand like this. By the other passenger, obviously you are referring to the accused, Mr. Magnus McGilded. And then he plunged out like this, stabbing the other passenger in the belly. What?
Order! Order! It is hard to believe of one of London's greatest philanthropists, but this is damning indeed.
Hold on, I probably read that all freaking wrong. All sorts wrong. Oh, okay. I read it right. The law knows no philanthropists, my lord. Only the innocent and the guilty. Good deeds mean nothing when overshadowed by evil. The truth is everything.
Couldn't agree more, sir. Truth.
Alright, so when it happened, the only 2 people in the enclosed cabin were the victim and the defendant. And, so help me, 3 whole people witnessed the man I'm trying to defend do the deed. I don't like to be pessimistic, but we do seem to be in a rather difficult situation here. Ugh. What am I supposed to think here? Is Mr. McGilded really innocent? Or could it be... But before we jump to conclusions, our first task should be to gather information. We need to understand the case much better than we do at the moment. Yes, you're absolutely right. Let's listen to those witnesses' statements again, a little more carefully this time. Yes, I think it was sometime after 10, wasn't it?
Oh, yes, sir, that's right, sir. Yes, I was so cold. It was, sir, freezing, in fact.
You had 4 passengers on board at the same time, is that correct?
Yes, that's right, sir. Not all traveling in the same parts of the bus, of course, though, no.
There were no other passengers when the incident took place. No one alighted, for example.
You're quite right with that, sir. No other passenger like that, no, none.
So nobody fled the scene of the crime, then?
I have to say the boss insists on running it. Running, he does, every evening, the last bus of the day. But I do wonder sometimes if it's altogether worthwhile. Yes, sorry to say.
What do you mean by that?
Well, with it being so cold and everything, and only making 20 pence on the run, you see. Yes, I spend that much at the pub on the way home just trying to warm up again. I just can't believe it, sir. Can't believe it. I'm a murder on my own bus. It's too awful to think about. I haven't been able to shake this cold ever since it happened.
My lord, I wish to speak. Yes, juror number 5, do I take it that... Yes, juror number 5, do I take it that you too? As the master of the London Guild of Coachmen, the idea of murder being committed in one of the city's carriages is utterly abhorrent to me. It wouldn't be right to make a decision before hearing all the facts, though, I said to myself. But I've heard enough now. The horse has bolted, as they say. No, please, just keep it on my little line. Gee up now, Silver Blaze! The finish is in sight. Beppo is a long-standing member of the guild. I trust what the man says.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. You're too kind, sir.
This is too unkind, sir. Which now means that 5 jurors agreed to condemn this man. Madam Juror number 6.
Yes, dear. What can I do for you?
You have heard the testimonies of the witnesses in the stand?
Oh, yes, I certainly have. Still got my hearing, you know.
Then pray tell, why are you yet to pronounce your leaning?
Well, dear, the thing is, I'm a creature of habit, me. I always go to the park at around this time of day. Oh, a nice bench, and get on with my knitting. There's a lovely little park just near where I live. McGilded Park, it's called. The gentleman donated it to the city, you know, to put a smile on Londoners' faces, he said. I can't imagine such a fine young gentleman would have it in him to take another man's life.
He's always doing what he thinks for the city.
That's right. A man like that wouldn't stab someone, surely. Mother, may we go to the McGilded Public Library later and borrow some more books?
How many Londoners live with their heads in the clouds? Do you people not know? What kind of a man Magnus McGilded really is? What kind of a man is he? The philanthropist Magnus McGilded has enough wealth to purchase the entire city he claims to value so highly. But where did all that wealth come from? Your client is a Shylock, sir, and one with the very darkest of souls. Now, Shylock is a cultural slur or a character usually associated with the Irish. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of that in this game. It is definitely a period piece in that sense. I will be saying these words. I believe it's imperative that I do. So yeah, that's just my stance on it. What?
Stone the crows!
McGilded lends money at extortionate rates of interest, so his victims have no hope of repaying him. When they default, he takes possession of everything they own. He is a vulture that preys on the weak.
I never heard any mention of that before.
Your faculties haven't deserted you, I'm sure, madame. So has this thought not crossed your mind? Would a man wealthy enough to buy London in its entirety not have a carriage of his own? What possible reason could this man have had to make use of a public omnibus service? You're not saying that the victim, a poor brickmaker, had next to nothing to his name save considerable financial liability. It will come as no surprise that his creditor was the accused, Magnus McGilded. But let it also be known that the very day Mr. Mason was killed was the final repayment date for his debts.
Good gracious!
The brickmaker was destitute. He had lost his house. He had not a shilling with which to repay his debts. And in the end, this pitiful soul had the very last thing he owned taken from him, his life. By the merciless philanthropist pretender Magnus McGilded. I don't believe it. If I might add something briefly, Mrs. Otto. You claim that the victim had been lent money by Mr. McGilded, but where is the evidence to support your claim? Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice in a court of law.
Ah, there it is! Lord Rangzeek's hallowed chalice!
How can this be considered acceptable? Because it's an Ace Attorney game. But I find myself in unexpectedly good humor. I had heard ladies from the Far East could show great courage, but I didn't expect to experience it myself. Do you like how I'm sexist and racist at the same time? I do enjoy it myself. Ah! As judicial assistant to the defense, I'm simply doing my job. But a pity that your display of courage is in vain. This is the debtor's ledger, which details all monies loaned by the accused. You will find the victim's name clearly recorded inside. Oh. Allow me to present this ledger as evidence. And pray forgive the discourtesy of raising my chalice in a toast to the enigmatic East at the same time.
A marvelous toast, Counsel. I will gladly accept this new evidence. Ah, yes, 20 guineas. The victim owed a considerable sum.
And the accused made quite certain he had ample recompense.
Well, it would seem I've had the wool pulled over my eyes.
Regrettably, madam, this is the modus operandi of the accused.
And it's such a pretty little park, too. What a scoundrel! Still, maybe it's all for the best.
Wait a minute! Let's think about this a little more before...
I don't stand for nonsense.
That was it. The last juror's decision. According to this encyclopedia of British law, when all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended, and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. That's what it says here. The final verdict. It's over then. Oh! There's a footnote, though. A footnote? However, the defense...
All 6 members of the jury are now in agreement in this case.
Allow me to convey my respect for your swift and righteous decision.
According to the laws of this country, I will now conclude the trial by delivering my final verdict. I trust there are no objections.
Mrs. Otto, just tell me one thing. Oh, yes? You're in the middle of saying something before. The footnote in your Encyclopedia of British Law. However, the defense. What did it say next? Oh, yes, of course. Excuse me? One moment. Excuse me, jeez. When all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended, and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. Then the footnote says, however, the defense has the right to demand a summation examination of the jurors at this point. A summation examination.
Objection!
A summation examination? From which century has the tome you have there been resurrected? Judging from the binding, I would say that book is at least 50 years old. Any modern text on British law wouldn't even give such an antiquated procedure a mention. It's a relic, long forgotten, and certainly no longer practiced. So you're out of luck. Oh. What even is it? What even is it, Mrs. Otto? This so-called summation examination? Oh, one moment, and I'll read about it. You would demand the right to a procedure before you even understand what it entails. Typical Nipponese. Alright, Mr. Naruhodo, I think I understand. It seems that under this procedure, we would be able to appeal to the members of the jury. To do what exactly? Appeal to them to change their leading and reverse the decision. And it says here that, if successful, the proceedings of the trial must be resumed. Make them reverse their decisions.
Yes, in times gone by, barristers would use a summation examination to attempt to influence the jury's decision. But that procedure became something of a formality with no practical benefit, really, so it rather fell out of use.
I wonder why. Because it was devoid of purpose. Changing just one member of the jury's mind would be hard enough, let alone several. No self-respecting defense barrister would even assert his right to try in this day and age. Still, I don't see any mention of the procedure actually being formally revoked. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that although it may be antiquated and largely forgotten, it isn't yet extinct. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Summation examination. Our last possible option. Do we assert our right to carry it out or admit defeat? Obviously, when you're in this position, if there's anything you can get to, you gotta take it. The defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination, my lord.
Objection.
London is the capital city of the most powerful nation on earth. We have a duty to the world to exemplify the very highest standards of judicial procedure. Summation examinations are an embarrassment that should remain barred.
Objection.
But if it's our right, it's our right. I believe it could prove vital in this trial. The defense's petition is perfectly valid. The court will proceed with the summation examination. This is madness. Foreman, are you and the remainder of the jury ready?
Yeah? Well, I'm not, there's no mention of this in the letter I received, you see, so...
All members of the jury will be asked to explain on what grounds they have reached their decision.
On what grounds?
You must all justify your decisions and explain why you believed the defendant to be guilty.
Well, my lord, you're rather putting us on the spot.
This is most irregular. No mention was made of this before.
Thought I really hold with all these just fine lot.
That seems to have thrown the jurors off. Seems none of them have experienced this before. Alright then, summation examination. Defense procedure no practicing lawyer has attempted for years, is it? Well, it just may be. Might be the opportunity we've been looking for. To turn this trial around. So be it then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court hereby calls upon you to state the grounds on which you find the defendant, Magnus McGilded, guilty of this most serious crime.
There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him.
I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory, it seems. 4 passengers with fares totaling 20 pence.
He stopped the chap next to him just like this. Brazen, I must say. Absolutely brazen.
I have simply typed and collated all the statements made thus far and drawn the logical conclusion.
You can trust the guild. Fair fares is our motto. We haven't raised prices above 4 pence for years. That scoundrel stabbing that poor man on the floor, it beggars belief.
Starting to wish I had pushed for this now. Some of the jurors don't seem to have wonderfully formed arguments, though, do they? Well, let's see what we can do. Need to get these 6 people to change their minds. I'll have to throw everything I can at them, and use some very persuasive language. Just a moment, Mr. Naruto. According to my book, that's not quite how it works. Oh? Thought I was going to have to thaw their icy minds with some heartwarming rhetoric about the defendant. Unfortunately, once the jurors have decided the defendant is guilty, they're unlikely to heed anything the defense says. But then, they've reached their conclusions by their own reasoning, you see. Your pleas will sound like excuses. In fact, it could recoil on you. The more you try to persuade them, the more entrenched they may become.
Then what on earth am I supposed to do?
Oh dear, I'm just citing what I've read about British law, Mr. Naruto. Right, I'm sorry. Do you have any idea how to make this work, then? Well, from what I can understand, the key to this procedure is using the jurors' own words to make your arguments. What do you mean? Well, the 6 members of the jury are randomly selected members of the public. It may appear to be present a united front, but the truth is, they're complete strangers who just happen to find themselves here in this courtroom together. And that's the way to break them down, you mean? Yes, exactly. We must listen very carefully to what each member of the jury says, and see if we can identify any contradictory statements. If we can, we then contrast the statements and pit the corresponding jurors against each other. I see. So it's contradictions in what two or more jurors say that we're looking for. In a way, then, this is similar to a regular cross-examination. Oh, yes, I suppose you're right. Find contradictions in their statements and pit the jurors against one another to break them down. Alright, I might be able to pull this off. No, that's not right. I have to pull this off. Can we start proceedings, counsel? I would ask you to take the stand for this, expecting a clear and concise rebuttal. Yes, my lord. Hold up, 1 second. Sorry, Cat was being naughty.
Objection!
These two statements clearly contradict each other. They do. Explain yourself, counsel. Me? Oh dear, what have I said?
I swear on Silver Blaze's maiden name! I haven't the first idea what you're talking about.
According to the group testimony we've heard so far, there were 4 passengers on the omnibus on the night in question. God, this is such a cool animation. And according to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 20 pence in fares.
Quite right. I have those precise details typed neatly here in front of me.
And juror number 5 also told us the following. The fare for the omnibus is always 4 pence.
That is a fair...
Oh God, I can't get this guy's voice down either.
That it is. A fair and convenient single price. Just the way London carriages should be operated.
But that doesn't add up at all. In fact, it leaves a glaring discrepancy in the facts.
Why, man? Why?
4 passengers paying 4 pence each. If you do the multiplication... it would be 16 pence. Exactly. As I said, it doesn't add up. The figures are different. By 4 pence, in fact. Or precisely, 1 person's fare.
1 person's fare?
Yes, in other words, on the omnibus that night. It's distinctly possible there was another passenger we've heard nothing about.
Good gracious. This can't be right. The coachmen of the guild are good, honest men, one and all. Trustworthiness is our watchword. The figures all coachmen claim most certainly do not add up. Your watchword, good sir, is a fallacy. I beg your pardon?
Mr. Guildmaster, I think you ought to consider that if this trial were to end now, the news will surely spread all over London. The news that one of your coachmen tried to hide the fact that he lets nefarious characters ride his omnibus.
Alright then, how do I make it so this miserable trial doesn't end,
Well, according to my book here, you simply launch a ball of fire into the innocent side of the set of scales.
Now hold your horses here, coachman. We're all in agreement. Why do you have to go in? Wait until I get my hands on you, Beppo! Oh, this is all very irritating.
Begging your pardon, sir. I'm going to do the same.
For the love of Mike, not you as well!
A penny can be the difference between a smile and a tear, after all. I certainly can't put my trust in someone who doesn't follow my exacting standards in financial matters.
Oh, really?
I, for one, think it's only proper that we hear from the witnesses again. Oh, well done, Mr. Narhoda, you did it! If we can manage to change 2 more jurors' minds, we could force the trial to continue. 2 more. Actually, there is something else that's bothering me about a couple of their assertions. Then that's where you must strike next. So I need to pit 2 more jurors against each other and show them there's another contradiction in their assertions. Exactly, you can do it.
Well, the scales of justice have shifted, but they still weigh heavy on the side of guilt. Counsel, you have the floor again. Continue with your summation examination.
Objection!
These 2 statements are completely contradictory.
What? Explain, counsel, post haste.
Oh, dearie me, I was only knitting a jumper for my other half. What is all this claptrap? What does contradictory even mean, I ask you? We've heard from more than one witness that they allegedly saw the actual moment when the defendant stabbed the victim. Now, out of curiosity, juror number 3.
What? Can't you see that I'm busy here?
How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim? What sort of motion was it?
Ha! Want to test me, do you? It was like this. Stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up. Just like the prim banker said.
Yes, that was Mr. Fairplay's testimony. Quite true. Now then, juror number 6.
Oh, is that me, is it? What can I do for you, young man?
How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim, madam?
Oh, well, dear, as far as I understand, it was like this. He stabbed the poor man after he collapsed on the floor. The coachman said so.
Now don't move. Take a look at these 2 jurors. He stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up, and he stabbed the poor man after he collapsed on the floor.
Well, I never. They're stabbing in totally different directions.
What?
Bless my stitches, what a muddle!
What this tells us that there's a strong possibility one of the witnesses isn't telling the truth.
Oh? But why? Why the dickens would they lie?
I don't know that yet, but what I do know is that if the trial ends at this point, we may never find out. We may never know the real truth. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, can you really let that happen in all good conscience?
Lies, you say? Oh, dearie me. I can't abide people telling lies.
The scales.
I don't believe it. Wait! Now hear this, my fellow jurors. I warn you, you cannot listen to this man. Look at him in his black suit. He's clearly some devious Eastern sorcerer using magic on us all.
If I could use magic, do you really think I'd be putting myself through all this?
Answer me this, Dark Jinx. Answer my very blatant, stupid, ignorant racism.
Huh? Me?
What exactly is your problem? What if 2 witnesses have slightly different recollections of events?
What of it?
Let's say the Shylock did stab the victim as he was sat next to him on the omnibus, and these young dandies saw him do it. And now let's say the victim collapsed on the floor. And then the Shylock stabbed him again. And this old lady saw him do it. Well, what's to say it didn't happen like that, Who are you calling a dandy, sir? Why, I should take this knob to you. Who are you calling old? Why, I should take this needle to you.
Ugh, they're ready to kill each other now. But could the foreman of the jury be right? Did the two witnesses see two different moments of the same crime? Unfortunately, Mr. Foreman.
What is it, you dark jinx? Come out with it!
What you're suggesting is impossible. It's out of the question.
What are you talking about, man? How can you possibly say that? You do realize that I'm only doing my job. As foreman of the jury, I have a responsibility to steer everyone in the right direction. So where's your evidence, man? That's what we want to see. I say the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime. If you say that's out of the question, show me some proof.
Looks like the only way I'm going to convince him is to present him with something he can't dismiss. Some irrefutable hard evidence. As you wish.
What?
I'll give you the proof. It's out of the question that the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime as proven by this autopsy report.
Take that!
This is the victim's autopsy report. According to what's written here, Mr. Mason was stabbed in the abdomen. Only once.
Only once?
It's quite simple. The victim was stabbed precisely one time. Which means those witnesses can't possibly have seen it happen two different times. Alright, I concede defeat. Wait, that means four jurors are now leaning to not guilty. We've done it, Mr. Naruto. We've won!
What are you playing at, you dandy fool?
Shut your trap, sir. No one deceives me.
But we had a consensus.
I said shut your trap. I know a liar when I see one. And if the chap even dares to cross the threshold of my shop, I'll take this razor-sharp blade and shave every lost hair off his head. Please tell me he's a barber.
Well, in a quite remarkable turn of events, the defense summation examination has flipped the balance of the scales of justice. The jurors now stand at 2 for guilty and 4 for not guilty. Accordingly, there is no longer a large enough majority among the jury for me to adjudicate, and the trial must continue. I hereby ask the defense, prosecution, and witnesses to return to their places, and I call upon all of you to continue to pursue the truth. So, Lord Van Zieks, continue to substantiate the case for the prosecution. If you please.
Sorry, I missed that one. Damn! Having savored the rich aroma of the carmine contents of this hallowed chalice, it may seem crass to crush it to dust. Pray, forgive the discourtesy.
Lord Von Zieks!
Is it cold in here, or is it just me? As your antiquated tome no doubt says, the prosecution may not speak during a summation examination, so I honored a deathly silence and litness to the charade. It seems I overestimated the intelligence of the jury. Well, no matter. There was nothing so hard to prove as a self-evident truth, it would seem. No, and why else would we grace the courtroom with our presence, after all? So, let us proceed to the next round of battle. Oh, the capes come off. Bring forth the witnesses once more. Witnesses, I trust you heard the summation examination we've just had to endure.
Oh, yes, that I did, sir.
Of course I heard it.
Oh, yes, sir, I heard it.
You saw on the end the coachman. I believe it's Beppo.
Yes, sir, my lord, sir.
God, I'm having trouble with his voice. If it transpires that in your previous testimony, you're attempting to veil the presence of a fifth passenger on your omnibus, you will be found guilty of perjury. You are advised to bear that in mind, sir.
Oh mio Dio.
Now then, witnesses, I hereby call on you to testify before the court again. You will explain the various misgivings brought to our attention by the defense's summation examination. And we will get into that testimony next time on the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Yep, there we go, folks. It seems that things are interesting. All things seem lost there, but we were able to pull out and dust off an widely forgotten procedure to buy us a little more time in this trial to poke holes in it, per se. But of course, we're in London now, and the racism is rampant, everybody. But that's just the period of time we're in. But yes, I've been enjoying this. I'm glad to be here. I hope you all have enjoyed it. As I say at the beginning of this video, January is the month of Ace Attorney. I will be posting exclusively Ace Attorney content, at least for January and most of February, especially after I get hands on Apollo Justice. We will move over to that. But until then, thank you all for watching. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to Brony Time for more content. Of course, for more The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Also, make sure to share this video far and wide on any of your socials, anywhere you can. It definitely does help this video get out there and get the most eyes on it. But we will continue with our cross-examination, well, the testimony first, next time.